Please remain seated. The show will begin in 3, 2...
Like a Hellcat.
Llorona, also known as the Weeping Woman, is said to be a horrifying apparition of a heartbroken woman who drowned her beloved children in a river and is earthbound to roam the land as punishment for her misdeed. There are variations to her story as to where she came from. Throughout Latin America, Mexico, and the American Southwest, many people had tales to share, theories that circulated all over those particular sections of the world. One version goes like this. This woman was supposedly an Aztec goddess named Coltecu, according to the National Museum of American History, who was heard crying for her children on the night of the Spanish conquest. Some folks describe her as the cursed ghost of a woman from Ciudad Juarez that stabbed her own children and disposed of their bodies in the Rio Grande so that she could win the love of a wealthy man. It is also implied that she was an interpreter and the lover of Hernan Cortez. She was actually called La Malinche, and after the fall of the Aztec capital and giving birth to Cortez's firstborn son, Cortez left her for his first wife, who awaited him in Cuba. La Llorona is also seen as a banshee-type figure, wandering riversides and sometimes crossroads, searching for her lost sons. She either carries a knife or a dagger. The 2019 movie depicts the story of the supposed myth that happens in the year 1673, where a young woman murders her two boys by chasing them into the woods and dragging them to their watery graves. Now, trailing back to the days of the 1570s, there are some sources, according to researcher Stephen Winnick, from the article La Llorona, Roots, Branches, and the Missing Link from Spain, and I quote, that the story of the infamous specter is one that goes as far as to the time where there were indigenous Mexicans. One variation of the tale is told by a man named Francis Torres, who wrote a book in 1947 called A Treasury of Mexican Folkways. It goes like this. There once lived a beautiful and humble maiden by the name of Luisa, whom fell in love with a rich man. They never married, but according to custom, the man built and furnished a casita for her, a love nest where they were happily residing together. Oftentimes his friends visited and respected Luisa, and eventually she and the man had 3 children together. At some point, the man's family wanted him to marry someone of his own social and rather wealthy background. When he broke the news to Luisa, she made a huge scene, and altogether, as sometimes things don't work out like you planned, he stopped visiting her, and then soon became an uninvited guest to attend his wedding at a cathedral. Upon returning home heartbroken and mad with grief, she stabbed her own children and ran like a lunatic through the streets. From the findings of researcher Stephen Winnick, there's another linked association with the origins of the ghost that is shared by another man in 1849, whose name was Manuel Eliego Carpio Hernandez. And he wrote, Pale with terror, I heard it told, when I was a child, an innocent child, that a bad man in my town once did death to his wife Rosalia. And since then, in the shadowy night, the trembling, frightened people hear the sad whimpering of a suffering woman, whimpering such as she made in her agony. For a certain time she ceases in her lament, but then breaks out into a prolonged weeping, and alone she traverses the streets. She fills everyone with mortal fear, and close by the river in the thick darkness, she goes weeping, wrapped in her cloak. There is a huge suggestion that there is a distinct relation of similarities between La Llorona and Chihuahua, who is a well-known Aztec goddess, as both women were known to practice infanticide. Chihuahua, however, is more depicted as a demon. According to Fray Bernardo de Sahaguan, as he states in his book, it is said she carries a crib with her, as someone would carry a child in it. She goes to the market among the other women. She then disappears, leaving the crib behind. When the women would look in the crib, they would be flint-like iron of the rough kind, with which they killed those they sacrificed. By this they understood that the goddess had left it there. There is another variation that expresses that the tale surfaces on a more native legend cycle about the woman who would seduce men when they were out by themselves on the roads or working in the fields. At times she would destroy them after adulterous acts, but according to some other accounts, she's actually a kind spirit that is known to bring good fortune to men or help them raise crops. In Texas, she is called La Segua, and far south, she is known as Panama. Tales and numerous accounts of the origin travel back to even places like Colombia and Venezuela, usually within territories of the Hispanic Southwest. Another variation of the tale is told by a publication written in 1866 by a man named José María León y Dominguez, a story that he had gotten from an old man. And it goes something like this. Hey guys, just a quick interruption. I just want to say thank you so much for checking out this video, and I hope that you'll check out all my other content on my channel. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and like this video. Alright, let's get on with the rest of the presentation. Returning to the 1866 account, as told by the elderly gentleman, in his reign King Pedro the Cruel had kept an eye on villages like Rota to see if they were governed well. In those days there was already a formidable castle there. The Castleton in charge was a haughty, bloodthirsty, arrogant man who did not recognize nor respect any divine or human law, and overran anyone who opposed his criminal desires. At the time there was also a fisherman who was a widower, and lived with his young and beautiful daughter Elvira. The young woman helped her father with the fishing and mending nets. But she also enjoyed festival days when she would go to the plaza and dance. Her beauty outshone all the other women in the village. When the mutilated corpses of children were found, the Castleton became a prime suspect. Elvira's father warned her to stay away from the man. However, she decided that if she made the Castleton fall in love with her, she would be elevated above her peers. The fisherman saved the Castleton's life one day, and a meeting had commenced between Elvira and the Castleton. A week had passed, and there were many rumors of courtship. And just a week after that, Elvira had vanished. Her father looked for her everywhere, then realizing she may have gone to the castle, and he went there himself to retrieve her. Sadly, upon begging the man to let Elvira go, from a high window, his daughter told him she was now the lady of the castle, and in cruel sarcasm, she added that she traded his poor shack for a rich palace. Distraught, her father had run away in tears. The people believed that the fisherman was mad for his bellowing. The next morning the townspeople awoke to find a gallows raised in front of the castle, and the Castleton hanging from it. People believed that King Pedro had discovered the Castleton's crimes and had him hanged. Elvira became a target of public ridicule, and out of shame she had thrown herself into a well and drowned. From that day on, every night at midnight, she rises from the well, wandering through the streets and entering the castle, crying and moaning. The people said that the punishment came from heaven, who had opposed it on Elvira here on earth for her pride, and was to mourn the death of the Castleton, leaving the well of La Llorona every night.
Should you find yourself walking alone in the empty streets of a Spanish town late at night, watch your back, for you may witness and hear the vengeful, horrifying spirit of La Llorona. She may know who you are, and she may follow you home, and who knows, she may even take one of your own.
Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and stay tuned for the next one. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope you all have a happy Halloween, and I might just do future videos on other Halloween props from other stores in the near future. Alright, till next time.